It's Thursday. Good morning. Wonderful to see you. Now, the city of Venice is on my bucket list. It's one of the places I really want to visit. You know, just the concept of an entire city on water is infinitely exciting to me. Now, anytime friends of mine return from there, they bring such wonderful stories about the architecture and the art and the people. Today, I want to tell you the story that really made me fall head over heels in love with that magical city. Now, just around the corner from St. Mark's Basilica is a small cafe called Molto. Now, after touring the Basilica, my coffee-addicted friend Jamie, who was on holiday with her sister, stopped at this cafe for some Italian espresso. So while they were sipping their drinks, a man in a business suit came up to the counter and made a strange order. 2 black coffees, please. 1 for the wall, he said. The sisters looked at each other quizzically, but the waiter nodded and made the man his order. He handed 1 black coffee to the well-dressed customer and wrote Caffè Nero, which is black coffee in Italian, on a piece of paper and stuck it on the wall. A few minutes later, 2 laborers in, dirt-streaked clothes came in and ordered 3 cappuccinos, please. 1 for the wall. Again, the waiter made their orders and stuck a paper with cappuccino written across it onto the wall. At this point, the sisters were bursting with curiosity, but they didn't have enough faith in the quality of their Italian to ask the waiter what the coffee on the wall thing was all about. But suddenly something happened that made the whole thing crystal clear. A man walked into the cafe. His clothes were tattered, his skin was streaked with dirt, and his body odor preceded him by a good 5 feet. It was clear this was a homeless person living on the streets of Venice. He walked up to the counter and asked in slow, measured speech that even the sisters could understand, "May I have 1 coffee from the wall, please?" The waiter made the man a nice piping hot cup of coffee, handed it to him with a smile, charged him nothing for it. The man sat down in the corner of the shop and calmly sipped his blessing in a cup, savoring what might perhaps be his only moment of dignity for the day, thanks to the kindness of someone he will never meet. The sisters stared at him for a few seconds and then, without a word, they got up together and ordered 4 cups of coffee for the wall. My dear friends, aren't we blessed? To have enough and a little change on top. But what is the point of blessing anyway? Why has God chosen us to receive this relatively good fortune? Is it because we deserve it? Is it because we made some deal with God and He owes us, so He's paying us back with good luck? Or perhaps there's another reason why we're so blessed. Perhaps blessings are meant to multiply. After all, what good is a blessing if only one person enjoys it? What good is a song if only one person hears it? What good is a painting if only one person sees it? Perhaps your blessing is not only the good things you've received, but also the responsibility to bless others with those good things. So today I would like to challenge us all to find new ways of sharing our good wealth, our skills, our talents, our time, our beauty, our love with as many other people as possible. God did not give us this light to hide it under a basket. So hold it high and let it shine, that others too might see. My name is Kojo Yankson, and my order will always be 2, please. 1 for the wall. Good morning, Ghana.
Apologies for that. Now, scores of domestic airline passengers are stranded at the Kotoka International Airport as workers of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority withdraw essential services over encroachment and illegal sale of aviation lands. They say the Lands Commission and Lands Ministry are complicit in the illegality. In an interview with Joyi, spokesperson for the coalition of GCAA workers, William Amako, stated the activities of the encroachers on the lands of Ashaleboche, cantonments around the AU village and East Legon are causing interruptions in air traffic control communications.
That it threatens flight operations and our own operations. So indirectly, the safety it raises a lot of safety concerns. We've had series of discussions with our management to see if these issues will be resolved. We've been to the ministry on several occasions. We start with the sector minister, and they have attempted on several occasions to resolve the issue. It's not been resolved. There have been some few interventions by the Labour Commission, as well as even National Security. We have gone ahead to petition the president and a series of press conferences. But it seems those who have bought the land are adamant, and nothing is being done, and is threatening the very foundation of this organization and the safety of the industry.
So these are lands in which specific areas?
Yeah, we have 2 parcels of land. One at La Nkwantanai, which is about 614 acre land, and one at La Wireless. We call it La TS. That is where our transmitters are located. That's about 61 acres of land. Initially, it was about 92 acres. About 30 of it was taken for the AU village. It's left with 61, and this 61 has our equipment on them. And that land was actually leased by the last 2 to the governor, the then governor, in 1948 for a period of 99 years. And the lease is supposed to end in 2047. For some strange reasons, the Lands Commission and the ministry has engaged the people in another transaction where the 27 years left has been surrounded for a new lease.
Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority Division at the Kotoka International Airport has granted tax and duty exemptions of over 6.2 million cedis to 7 organizations, including the Electoral Commission and Ministry of Health, without parliamentary approval. Now, this is contained in the 2019 Auditor General's report. The Acting Auditor General, Johnson Akuyama Asiedu, asked sector commanders at the airport's collection office to ensure that parliamentary approval letters, which gave authority for the exemptions amounting to over 7.1 million cedis, are provided for our inspection. Now, Prince Apia has details on the AG's report and joins us via Zoom. Now, Prince, what is contained in this latest Auditor General's report?
According to the Auditor General's 2019 report on the ministries, departments, and agencies, the overall financial impact of weaknesses and irregularities identified in the course of the audit amounted to over 3 billion cedis. And the Acting Auditor General, Johnson Asiedu, indicated that they will investigate these matters further and, where appropriate, disallow any items of expenditure that were contrary to law and surcharge responsible officials accordingly marked.
Now, let's touch on infractions in some of the agencies. First, what did the report state on Kotoka International Airport?
So it says that at the Kotoka International Airport collection office, the auditors noted that from the sample of entities that exemptions from the payment of duty and tax totaling 6.2 million cedis was granted on imported goods without parliamentary approval. The Electoral Commission, for instance, was given exemptions of up to 1.4 million cedis on goods imported. And Ministry of Health were also granted exemptions to the tune of 2.4 million cedis. Amandi Energy Limited was granted exemptions of 1.8 million cedis, and Authentics International 104,000 Ghana cedis. Ministry of Local Government 17,000 cedis, and Ghana Health Service over 338,000 cedis marked.
And what is the Auditor General's recommendation?
Okay, the recommendation that the Auditor General is putting out is that they are urging the sector commanders to ensure that parliamentary approval letters, which gave authority for the exemptions amounting to 7.1 million cedis, are provided for inspection. In the absence of that, the exempted amount should be recovered from the entities involved. Mark.
All right, thank you so much, Prince Apia, for for that update. Now, moving on to International E-Waste Day. Population growth, increasing prosperity, and changing consumption habits in Ghana are leading to increasing amounts of electrical and electronic waste. E-waste, as it is referred, sits on a multi-million industry with potential of creating jobs and providing foreign exchange. But the trend of importation of large quantities of second-hand appliances with comparatively short remaining life makes the situation worse in Ghana. Now, as Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark the International E-Waste Day, stakeholders are calling for concerted efforts in developing Ghana's waste industry. Manuel Kranting was at the stakeholders engagement organized by the E-Waste Recycling Roundtable in Accra and now reports.
We send our batteries to, and in most cases when these batteries are picked by this push button, they hammer it and then they let the acid out. That is when the lead comes out and then we are affected. It affects groundwater and also ourselves. And also the next thing is the bulbs, the fluorescent tubes. It also contains mercury. We put it in our normal bin because we are poisoning even ourselves within our own homes. You know.
Vice President of the E-Waste Roundtable Association, IROTA, Vivian Ahiaibo, explaining the cultural trend of improper electronic waste disposal in Ghana. For IROTA, the informal sector holds the key to building a society which is sensitive to environmentally friendly ways of collecting, managing and disposing of electronic waste. The reason it held a stakeholders engagement with the Greater Accra Scrap Dealers Association. The scrap dealers, who have over the years been burning non-metallic parts of their wares before selling them, want government to expedite measures in establishing an electronic waste recycling plant in the country.
But we are appealing with the government through this media that they have heard, and they've heard our stand and what we also are facing here. And we know that when they are able to put up such, a plant here, it's going to help in a long way to ease some of these negative things that we see in our businesses, which we will so much appreciate. Like I said, if that is done, will be so much appreciated. Probably when that is done may not even be the end of our destiny, but we may have, passed one hurdle. And then we go.
As Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark the International E-Waste Day, Vivian Ahiaibo wants government to provide incentives to recycling companies which operate in the e-waste industry.
We want government, for example, in terms of taxation for machinery that will take care of, for example, some of the recycling activity, some of the taxes should be taken off. And also we want PPPs, programs that are sustainable, that have environmental impacts.
Now, Professor Nana Jane OPOKU says the questions raised about her receiving salaries from the University of Cape Coast are misplaced. In a yet-to-be-aired interview, she just suggested that she has been working with the university since leaving the education ministry. She also hinted that the decision to rejoin her faculty was taken reluctantly. She was speaking to Daniel Dadzi.
And I didn't know many people were very, very knowledgeable about how universities are run, how post-retirement contracts are given. I didn't know that, but I'm glad. So I was telling the registrar, next time we advertise, there'll be many, many applicants. We won't be scratching our head anymore about who qualifies. So let me leave it here. So many of the stories will come. As we get closer, you hear many of them.
So you did not receive monies from
All I'm saying is that the registrar, why shouldn't I? I'm not a citizen. I don't work at the university. No, what is that? Where is that coming from? What's that supposed to mean?
So were they part of your terms and conditions?
Go to the university and find out again. Go and get the number of PhDs and masters I've graduated since I left the ministry. Go and find out the role I play. So do your homework.
The interview is in the maiden edition of On the Record with Daniel Dadzi on Monday, 19th June at 8 p.m. on Joy Prime TV. Now, leadership of Parliament is still contemplating what to do with a request by the New Patriotic Party for the Speaker to declare the Formanak constituency seat vacant. This was after the governing MPP said it has expelled the MP for the area Andrews Amwakwa for deciding to contest the next election as an independent candidate. The party is asking the Speaker to invoke Article 97 of the Constitution, which says a seat should be declared vacant when an MP leaves the party or on whose ticket she came to the House. Majority MPs have been tight-lipped on the issue, but Minority Leader Haruna Adrusu tells Joy News a decision is yet to be taken.
We are studying the Formina case very well, and we are studying it within the meaning of Article 112, marrying it with the provisions of Article 94, whether he has become independent. He did not walk to Parliament as independent. What his status will be within Parliament is a matter that we are studying very carefully with our constitutional law advisors. Leaving means he took a voluntary act. This is an involuntary act. That's why I say we are studying it. When we are conclusive with our finding, we make public what we think, whether he should be vacating his seat or he should continue to be a member of Parliament. I understand that there's some correspondence to the Speaker of Parliament.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. Once we study it, we will study it within the context of Article 112 and 94.
Now, a Deputy Attorney General, Godfred Yabwadame, has described some comments made by NPP MP Kennedy Ajapong as scandalous. These comments are the subject of a pending contempt case against the MP. The Supreme Court today ruled that the case is transferred to a different High Court judge after Mr. Ajapong's lawyers accused the judge hearing the case of being hostile. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
Everything is fine, and there should be no trouble or unnecessary speculation.
A member of Mr. Japon's legal team, Afenya Makin, had earlier described the trial presided over by Justice Wuni as healthy when they appeared before him at the High Court.
There is a trial going on. Parties are having a healthy exchange. There is a healthy exchange between the bar and the bench. We have had a healthy engagement, and we would want to maintain that.
The legal team on Wednesday, however, accused the judge of being hostile. They said he had indicated he was a live wire and would electrocute the MP since he had touched him. They also said the comments the MP made referred to another judge and not Justice Wuntawuni. They urged the court to stop him from hearing the case. Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yabwadame opposed the application by Mr. Japon's lawyers. He said the application assumes that the mere separation of the High Court into divisions makes it different. He argued there is only one High Court and can take up any matter of contempt. He therefore urged the court to dismiss the application, describing it as unmeritorious. He, however, reminded the court that it had the power to grant the application if it finds that in the course of the contempt proceedings at the High Court, due process was not followed. The five-member panel comprising Justices Bafo Boni, Yao Apeu, Gabriel Paman, Amadou Tanko, and Yoni Kulendi ruled that the case be transferred to a different judge.
That's it for the AM News. I'm Apita Sibili. The show continues with Mama V. Osu Abwaje.
Hello there again. Welcome to the review segment here on the AM show. Joseph Akable in studio. Joseph OPOKU GAKPO is joining us via Zoom, and Benjamin Akakpo will also join us via Zoom. So, gentlemen, Joseph and Joseph, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you? How was your night?
Oh, it was good. It was good. Did you sleep at all? What time did Parliament rise yesterday?
I actually left them. So nothing too much in the house. Yeah, bro. So they actually sat very late into the day. They had given that indication long before that they are trying to get a lot of business done over the next 4 weeks so they can break and go campaign. But the agenda is, very much huge. And so these days they've been sitting very late into the evenings. And
how is the participation like? Do they come in their numbers?
No. Sometimes later in the day when they are dealing with some of the specific bills, you check the numbers and there are just about 10, 15 MPs working on the amendments. Currently, they are working on the complementary education agency bill. So they're setting up a new agency to handle all the institutions that are outside formal education, vocational institutions, and a lot of those. They're setting up a whole new agency that will provide the necessary oversight. And usually they are like 10, 15 people.
I guess the others are learning from Joseph. They abandon their work and go and rest.
Let's just also switch and say good morning to Benjamin Akapo, who's also joining us for the review. Benjamin?
Well, a very good morning to you, Moavi,
yes.
and the two Josephs who are always up to something. A very good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Good to see you, Benjamin.
Great, guys. So straight away, let's just jump into the newspapers and let's tell you what's making headlines. Akablay would start with the Daily Guide. Yes.
The front page of the Daily Guide, a number of court stories. The first one here says government rakes 13.58 million cedis from Woyome mansions. Has a photograph of the businessman. And judge removed from Ken's case. There's a photograph of Kennedy Ejapon, the Asin Central MP, and no bail for Legon lecturers, killers, also on the front page of the Daily Guide. The back page has sports stories. It says party targets more trophies. And, oh, with us now? Okay. Oh, has he joined a different team?
I would say more trophies.
Yeah, they are not winning any trophies.
Has he won one with them and he's looking forward to winning more with them?
The team itself hasn't won anything I can recall immediately, but okay. So they here defended despite another howler, also on the back page, and letting Lukaku go. Soja greatest regret. That's the question that the Daily Guide is asking on the back page. Let me quickly do the Ghanaian Times. The front page says, Formina MP's fate hangs in the balance as Parliament deals with NPP's letter. And winners of National Science and Math Quiz present trophy to President. Has a photograph of the winners giving a trophy to the President. I watched that event yesterday. The PRESEC guys have cut portions of it where the President says PRESEC is one of the best schools, if not the best school, and they are circulating it all over.
Well, do you doubt that? Are you like?
Oh, I don't doubt that. I mean, and the President also said that they've demonstrated that they are the undisputed champions of the quiz.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is it painful to say that?
Oh no! I mean, we are all Legonites, so we don't have any qualms.
Oh, I guess for Ben and OPOKU GAKPO, it's not the same. You guys I'm feeling the same, are you? Oh, we can't hear that, Ben. You've got to unmute yourself.
Okay, I hope it's better now.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So my secondary school, and I say secondary school because back in the day, Charlie, so Bishop Herman College. But you see, we're affiliated to the pre-seconds because we also don't. I don't know about the two Josephs, but at least my school is affiliated owing to that. And the second bit, I was in the University of Ghana, also situated in Legon. So every excuse possible to tag along with the winning team. I don't know about you, Akablay.
No, but this is very confusing. This is when you say your school is affiliated, like Biheko is affiliated to PRESEC.
Well, I'm saying owing to our colors. Once you don blue, you're affiliated.
Are you kidding me? I thought you were going to say Biheko is a Presbyterian school or something.
I guess you should find out from Joseph whether TIA Media, they're also wearing blue.
OPOKU GAKPO, we should skip this one, eh?
TIA Media, were they wearing blue too?
Explanation is, but the point is that, what is NSMQ? This is just, as I saw on Twitter the other day, 3 very brilliant young chaps making 30 million Ghanaians feel as if every PRESECan is a smart guy. Meanwhile, we can't be too sure of that. And the real deal, schools which are producing presidents and speakers and all of not schools which are producing what NSMQ champions. It won't take us anywhere.
But Joseph, is that to say, the students or old students of PRESEC have not made it that far? We also know that some of them are parliamentarians, ministers, scientists.
The Speaker of Parliament, Joseph, you go to Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, actually, you need to be careful, Joseph. Yeah. The Speaker may be watching.
Yeah. So they just might drag you there, Joseph, for contempt. Now, if you've not learned from Kennedy Japon's own issue, I don't know, but Charlie, when they drag you, I'm not involved. I have no idea.
Let's go back to the papers now. I'll do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Here we go with what's on the front page of the paper today. And Joseph OPOKU GAKPO, you're in Parliament. I don't know why this has become an issue. No by-election in Mfantsiman. The Speaker stressing that. But it's clear, isn't it? I'm not sure who started this, and it's been attributed, if you read the story, to the media. We didn't say that, did we?
I was really surprised listening to the MPs raise the issue, subsequent to which the first deputy speaker and the speaker clarified, and them saying that they've heard within the media space that people are claiming that the wife of the late MP is replacing the husband as Member of Parliament. I honestly don't know which media house reported that to their hearing, based on which they sought to set the record straight that because it's just less than 3 months to the next election, then no by-election, no replacement is happening and no by-election will be happening. But it's been crystal clear from the start, and we are clearing our minds on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the center spread of the Daily Graphic. This story is also on the front page. President crowns PRESEC undisputed kings of national science and maths quiz. But if you get to the center spread, you see the gentleman there, and the first gentleman with the trophy. OPOKU GAKPO, was that you? Okay. And then there's 2.7 million Ghana cedis projects for peri-urban farmers launched, as well as women in poultry value chain support psychiatric hospitals. On the back page, Vice President cuts sword for Bonre Kente Museum. And NADMO releases relief items to Accra flood victims, according to the Director General, who's also been touring the flood areas. Benjamin, let's come to you. You've got the Finder and the Daily Dispatch. Let's hear you. Okay, Akable, Times?
Yes, and so I brought you some of the stories on the front page, and quickly on the back page of the Times now, it has this story about UEW's idle to do more online teaching. Yeah, and 250 national service personnel trained to control traffic, also on the back page of the Ghanaian Times.
All right, let's do the Business and Financial Times. Front page, presidential jet signal jam pushed us to strike. So staff of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority have revealed that their recent declaration of a strike over the protection of aviation lands at the Wireless Station, which is adjacent the AU village in Accra, was instigated by a signal jam experienced, and it continues when the president, was returning from a trip to Mali this week. We brought you a lot more details in the AM News, but we know that the action affected domestic airlines, even though they say this whole interference in communication also affects the international airlines. But back on the front page, insurance penetration stagnates for 5 years at 1%. Industry player calls for more education and innovation. And inflation continues downward trend, hits 10.4% September. The rest of it, you have to grab the paper. Benjamin is back again, and he can now review the Daily Dispatch and the Finder newspaper. Ben?
Well, Mama V, let's quickly go to the Daily Dispatch this morning, and it says Supreme Court stops Justice Wuni from hearing Kennedy Japan's case. That's the banner headline. There's also an analysis of Eastern Region's electoral votes. That story on page 11 of the Daily Dispatch. And then there's this interesting one. I am not behind Gushegu MP's withdrawal from parliamentary race. That is Hassan Tampuli. He's been speaking there. And that's a story I'm going to be getting into some pretty interesting matters there. But quickly, let's switch over to let me do the back page of the Daily Dispatch before I move on to the Business Finder. It says, so it carries the story actually of the Supreme Court stopping Justice Wuni from hearing the Kennedy Japan contempt case. Now, when you go to the Business Finder newspaper now, it says banking reforms win Bank of Ghana Global Prize as it receives a World Central Bank of the Year award. So That's one of the stories there. Then September, inflation drops to 10.4%. If you've been following, that's a marginal drop there of 0.1%. So it's a drop from 10.5 to 10.4%. And then keep supporting households, save jobs. That's according to the IMF. So those are the two papers I'm going to be reviewing, Mama.
Okay, great. Joseph, I see you've opened the Akosius. Is this something you want to highlight on page 3 of the Daily Guide?
It's the story about the women money and some other issues that we are looking at.
Otherwise, I'm just going to go to Joseph OPOKU GAKPO. You were in Parliament yesterday. Question is, did they bring closure to the matter of the Fomena Member of Parliament? Did they close the chapter? Because we know that per the NPP's own constitution, once he filed as an independent candidate, he lost his membership with the party. The party petitioned Parliament. What has Parliament concluded?
In fact, they've not even yet opened the chapter on that as far as Parliament is concerned. I've been asking around all day yesterday for a copy of the third letter the MPP has written to Parliament, which was stated in the press statement that General Secretary John Boyden actually issued. I'm yet to see a copy myself. I asked the minority leader, for example, for a copy. He said he hadn't seen a copy himself, except to confirm that at the level of leadership, they're discussing what exactly to do with this particular instance. It needs to go through a process. As in, once the NPP has said that they want him out of Parliament, and we usually point to the Article 97 clause, which says that once you leave the party on which ticket you came to Parliament, then the seat could be declared as vacant. The process has to be triggered on the floor for a conversation among MPs, and then a decision being taken before the Speaker can eventually declare the seat vacant. That process hasn't started in Parliament. No one is clear when anyone will trigger. It would involve one of two things. Either an MP drawing the House attention during one of the sittings after it had been agreed on in conclave. Conclave is a pre-sitting meeting, or the Speaker may just go ahead and probably read out the letter that has come to him from the NPP, and then based on that, the House will deliberate when it take a decision and say, yes, we will agree to this, before the Speaker can go ahead and declare the seat vacant. Until then, the gentleman remains a member of Parliament. He is still entitled to whatever privileges that he's supposed to have as a member.
But did you see him yesterday?
It's actually been a while since I saw him. Since the House returned from its break recently, I haven't spotted him. Just as a number of other MPs who are still campaigning because they say these are very busy times for them. He's not so much of an active member on the floor of Parliament itself, but then of course, as we repeatedly said, a lot of the work is done at the committee level. So if an MP is not active on the floor, he's probably doing more work at the committee level than you could ever think of.
Yeah.
But just to round it up briefly, the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, throws in a very interesting aspect of the conversation as to whether the NPP can go ahead and get him out of Parliament. Because he points to the fact that the Constitution talks about if someone leaves the party that brought him to power, as you put out there on the screen, a member of Parliament has vacated seat in Parliament. If he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party or seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent member. The minority leader's question is, in this gentleman's case, he didn't decide to leave the party. The party decided to sack him. Although everyone points to the fact that him deciding to go independent means that the party's own constitution has to apply. But for the minority leader, it raises constitutional issues that they are still seeking the advice of their legal department and their legal brain before a firm decision can be taken.
Great. There's one more matter, but let's go to Ben. Ben, you had a pick in one of the papers?
Yes, I did. Let's go to page 2 of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. And I'm going to take that story with regard to the NP, National Petroleum Authority boss. And it says, I'm not behind Bushegu MP's withdrawal from parliamentary race. That is Hassan Tampuli. Now, just a bit of a background. The reason I'm doing this story has to do with, if you recall, the instances with regard to the majority leader, Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu. If you recall the issues to do with Joe Wise, among others, you would know that some people feel within the MPP proper there's been some arm twisting with regard to who stands as a member of parliament or the parliamentary candidate for their party in many of the constituencies in which the party is contesting. And that story basically talks about the new Patriotic Party's parliamentary candidate for Gushegu, Hassan Tampuli, refuting claims that he masterminded the withdrawal of Dr. Ziblim Idi from the MPP primaries. Dr. Ziblim actually was the member of parliament, or is the substantive member of parliament, also deputy minister for tourism there, and he pulled out of the race. Interestingly, according to Hassan Tampuli, it was only matters following the natural course. That is what he said, and he is saying that he thinks it will be preposterous for people to take the position or assume that there was any arm twisting involved. My take on this matter is that it is pretty peculiar, especially for an incumbent to step aside the way Dr. Ziblim actually did. And some have suggested that there might have been some coercion. He suggested, the powers that be in the party discoursed with him, and he decided based on what had been.
Yeah, quite interesting. I know that constituency well. Dr. Ziblim Idi, he was my lecturer. He was a political science lecturer, but I enjoyed his foreign policy class, so I took that particular course back at Legon.
He was given a deputy ministerial position, wasn't he?
Yes, he's a deputy minister for tourism and creative art. He's a brilliant foreign relations expert, and like GAKPO says, it's very strange. He's actually struggled to get into parliament. He contested a different seat where his father hails from. He lost. Then he moved to Gushegu, where his mom hails from. Then he was able to win a seat. And so one term, then all of a sudden he fails to contest. Then he decides that he's withdrawn. He's not going to contest again. Then the NPA boss comes into contest. Like, it's really baffling. And he's made a point that it was engagements that he decided to withdraw. But Hassan Tampuli is now saying that he's not the one who is behind it. But I mean, clearly something must have happened and some deliberation must have gone on, because either than that, for those of us who know Dr. Ziblim Idi, he wants to be in parliament. He wanted to be in parliament. That's how come he lost and still came back and pushed and managed to win a seat for the MPP. Yeah. A seat that the MPP has struggled to win.
But bottom line, he gave up.
Yeah, he gave up.
Yeah.
Quite unfortunate.
So, Joseph, you tell us about the court case, but I wanted OPOKU GAKPO, because yesterday I listened to your interaction with the Deputy Defense Minister, and I was wondering where all that came from. Like, what's media inciting the people against MPs? Like, what's that matter about, really? Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Major retired Derek Odro, obviously is in a world of his own. he makes the point that if you rise against MPs as if they are from Afghanistan, and if
the Congo Basin,
they are from Congo River Basin, the public should remember that it's the public who put them there to serve the nation, and that the public is supposed to love them and then get them closer to the members of the public. But he makes the point that people hate MPs, and it's partly because of the media and how the media is inciting a lot of people to actually hate MPs. Obviously, the gentleman is in the world, so wish him well.
He sounded quite upset yesterday. But real quick, Akable, tell us what happened to the Kennedy Japan case. Most of the reliefs were granted, in fact, all, except for this one, which means the contempt case is still very much active, except that there's a new judge who will be handling the matter.
Yes, and so that is what's happened. So going forward, what is going to happen is that a new judge will be appointed by the Registrar of the Court through the processes for the new judge to hear the matter. They said the judge was hostile towards them. And it's interesting, the report that we played before the news, it starts with the sound of Afenyo Markin at the last proceedings at the High Court, where he says that our engagements with the bench has so far been very healthy and very cordial. But they got to the Supreme Court and said that it has been very hostile, and the court, agreed and said that, okay, in the interest of justice, let's transfer the matter to another judge to hear it. And so Kennedy Japan still faces contempt, but in a different culture.
Yeah, also very interesting, the words of the Deputy Attorney General. I think that was a bit surprising.
Very surprising.
Explain to us why he is in the midst of this.
The court said that because the decision, the application seeks to set aside the High Court's proceedings, the High Court judge cannot be a respondent, and so the AG's office has to come in as a nominal defendant and speak on it. And Mr. Dame got there and surprisingly said that, I mean, what ought to generate the court's attention is the comments the MP makes, which he says are in no doubt scandalous. And for the record, they are both members of the New Patriotic Party. And so that is a member of the NPP saying that to the court that the comments were scandalous.
Well, listen, still a lot of respect to the judge who's been handling this case, who is no longer going to be handling it. And I you know, a lot of respect to you, sir, because we've been following your procedure and we love it. We've learned a lot, so thank you. Gentlemen, this is where we have to leave the review. OPOKU GAKPO, the limping candidates, suspending in the air. I just wrote these words because that's what Haruna Idrisu, that's how he chose to describe him yesterday. We wait to see how things, you know, turn up today. Hopefully there can be closure on that matter.
You know him and his quotable quote, and how once he's done with the interview, he's walking away while he finishes his interview.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. All right, catch you later on. Benjamin, finally with you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make the point, going back to Hassan Tampuli's, issue, I just wanted to make the point that it would be interesting to see how the NPP, copes with all of these independent candidates. In the case of Dr. Iblim, he is not actually going to, Dr. Idi, I beg your pardon, he's not going to contest as an independent candidate. But if you know, in the Ashanti region, for example, 9 of them, at least 9 of them going independent. We just wait to see how all of these are going to affect the fortunes of the party in terms of the parliamentary races. Hopefully it doesn't. But with the way things are going and with the comments that are coming through, you can only forecast. Look into your crystal ball and see that there might be some trouble brewing. So we wait to see come December 7th.
Well, that's actually one of our big conversations this morning right after sport. So we'll get into that matter proper. Gentlemen, the 2 Josephs and Ben, we will catch you a bit later on. And this is where we have to end the review. Coming up next is Oreko Ampofo. He's got sports. There's nothing on Kotoko in the news today, is there? Stay with us. Well, you're still watching the AM show. We thank you for staying. Let's get into some of our big issues this morning. Sometime last year, I think in April, there were conversations about amending the Criminal Offences Act to make corruption a felony, criminalize private corruption acts, and domesticate international anti-corruption conventions that Ghana has signed. Well, just very recently in Parliament, I guess because of all the other matters, this hasn't come up. There was some amendment made to the Criminal Offences Act. Our parliamentary correspondent, Joseph Akablay, Joseph OPOKU GAKPO, I beg your pardon, is joining us via Zoom so we can talk about this matter and some other matters that have come up. Indeed, we discussed bits of it during the review, but we're getting into a lot more details. So, Joseph OPOKU GAKPO, thanks for coming back on this matter. This bit about the amendment is something that is not widely known. Explain what has happened to the Criminal Offences Act.
So this is just about, this is just the day before yesterday, just that it happened late into the evening, some at 6 p.m. So it's not one of the items that a lot of people paid attention to. Now what happened is that earlier this year, the Attorney General introduced an amendment bill to Parliament to amend the original Criminal Offences Act, which details crime generally and the kind of sentences that should be applied when people commit various crimes. And what that document, which is, Mama, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a legislation that's dating back to the 1960s.
Exactly.
So what happens is that then when you look at corruption specifically is something that was described as a misdemeanor, meaning it's not a very much high-level crime. So someone commits an act of corruption, and per the prescriptions as had been contained in the original Criminal Offences Act, when that person is taken to court and the individual is found guilty, then the person will be sent to jail probably for somewhere around 2 years because it's considered a misdemeanor. You recall that a lot of civil society groups have repeatedly been campaigning that there was the need for us to change corruption status from a misdemeanor so that then it's a higher crime. So among others, that's what that bill that was brought to Parliament earlier in the year sought to do. It was laid by the Attorney General. There was a second reading some time ago of it when they discussed the principles of the bill. Some amendments were made to it, and eventually it was passed on Tuesday night, late Tuesday night by Parliament. And now corruption is considered as a felony. What that means is that when you commit an act of corruption and you are sent to court and the trial, and you could go to jail for as much as 25 years. And the entire conversation is that the objective of this is to discourage people from wanting to engage in corruption. And on the floor of Parliament, the MP rightly made the point that both when it comes to members of the public generally and politicians and civil servants, they should know that any act of corruption could come with very extreme sanctions compared to what existed before. So they would want this to serve as a deterrent so people avoid engaging in corrupt acts, except that there's been the attempt to point some holes into that. The point being that from the observation of a lot of the MPs for many years, no one has specifically been convicted of a specific act of corruption. So maybe someone may engage in a corrupt act and will be taken to court, and then things may be pointed out like forgery, things like, theft of public funds, charges like deceiving a public officer, charges like causing financial loss to the state are what are usually slapped on people who engage in alleged acts of corruption. But that specific charge of corruption is something that has been a very long time since anyone got convicted of that specific charge of corruption. And so then the point was being raised about whether this was really important. But essentially, the lawmakers are hoping that this will serve as a deterrent to any individuals who may be interested in engaging in corrupt acts.
Very, very interesting. So this has essentially been passed.
So what we are waiting for now is that it will receive presidential assent. So Parliament, after doing the necessary amendments to the bill and approving it in the House, will communicate it officially to the office of the President that Parliament has gone ahead to do this. And then once that is done, then the President will sign it into law, and then it becomes operational soon after the President signs it into law. So right now, that's what we are waiting for, that it will be communicated to the Presidency for the President to then sign it into law for it to become law in the country.
Okay, great. Joseph, I want us to go back to the matter of the Infanteman Member of Parliament and go back to when the Interior Minister appeared before Parliament. People were quite not happy because it didn't look like he had addressed the general insecurity issues, matters that people had on security, but specifically just addressed the issue of the NP. The reason the 200 police officers were announced that they were going to be protecting our members of Parliament. But the Interior Minister is back in Parliament today. Explain why he's coming back and which committee he's appearing before.
So we gather that even before the issue of the Infanteman constituency and the death of the MP came on, there had been a conversation between the Committee on Defense and Interior, chaired by Senator Champong, the MP from Kaeso, and the Interior Minister, Ambush Derry, for him to appear before the Committee on Defense and Interior and brief MPs on efforts to enhance security in the nation generally as we approach the election period, as we approach Christmas. So that meeting had been scheduled some weeks ago to allow for the minister to appear before the Committee on Defense and Interior. Now, what happened is that Even before that, then the issue of the death of the Infantiman MP became public, and then the Speaker went ahead to direct that the Minister for Interior shows up on the floor, come respond to various questions. And so, and that was a closed-door meeting, except that the House generally sat as a committee of the whole, so it was a closed sitting that didn't have the press present. And a lot of the focus was on improving security for MPs, we gather. There was a bit of the conversation around what is being done to improve general security in the country. And so when we spoke to the Minister for Interior after that closed door session, he pointed to how they had made the necessary efforts to read through the police service. There's been the addition of, I think, about 3,000 men over the last 3 years. They've gotten logistics, including more vehicles and all. They are expanding on Operation Calm Life and a few other things. So from what the minister told us, he made the effort to brief MPs as well on what is being done to enhance general security in the country. But the Committee on Defense and Interior is still insisting that at the level of the committee, we want to probe those issues further. They want to ask more questions, particularly when it comes to security ahead of the election. They want to get more firm assurances from the minister that the police and the Interior Ministry has the security situation of the country under control. And so we're expecting that later today, the Interior Minister will be appearing before the Committee on Defense and Interior to respond to questions on some of those. This will again be a closed door session, but usually as we seek to get those details, once it's done, we will get details of whatever may have transpired in the meeting from both the Interior Minister and also the Committee on Defense and Interior members. We can only hope that these plans will eventually unfold, because a lot of things have been happening. There is the ongoing conversation around the 1 week celebration of the death of the Infantiman MP, which may be taking the attention of MPs. We also know that a lot of the MPs are in their constituencies campaigning and all. But then we're hoping that the Committee on Defense and Interior will make time for this particular session with the Minister for Interior to discuss those specific issues.
And then just have the final bit on this is the Fomena MP that we've discussed. Parliament is yet to decide in terms of the petition that the NPP say they presented to Parliament. So the final bit of it. But you mentioned to us earlier that this is not even somebody who is necessarily active on the floor, even though he may be active on the committee side. So we don't know whether or not he himself is going to be showing up in Parliament.
It's very much unclear, except that what we know for certain now is that he remains an MP until the processes are declared, the process are triggered to declare his seat vacant. Just to put all this in a bit of context, we were having this conversation yesterday about how he decided to then go independent following his disagreement with the party. Apparently, he didn't even contest the NPP primaries in the constituency. Andrew Amakwesiama had actually accused the chairman of the NPP in the Ashanti region, Bernard Ntubosiako, and his constituency chairman of scheming to remove him and put a different candidate there as MP. And so his complaint had been that even the album that was to be used for the upcoming process had been tampered with and they didn't have the right people on the list. And so sometime in February this year, even before the NPP went in for their primaries, he issued a communique and indicated that he will not be contesting in the primary, and he will decide what to do with himself afterwards. It's similar to the situation that happened in the Bushegu area with Dr. Ziblimidi withdrawing from the contest and withdrawing from seeking re-election, which was actually the same kind of scenario. And then after that, he's now decided that he's going independent. Waiting for the processes to be triggered, but he was elected for a 4-year term. The party has decided to expel him. A number of things could happen, and it will depend very much on the extent of pressure that the NPP may want to pile on the speaker and the majority leadership to get the MP out of the house. Because it could as well happen that the speaker may not exactly trigger the processes, and everyone could decide that let's allow sleeping dogs to lie at least for the next 4 weeks or so, that the House will be sitting. Even when the seat is declared vacant, there's no way a by-election can be held for the candidate to be replaced because we are too close to the next election. So just maybe, again, at the discretion of the speaker, he may just decide to let sleeping dogs lie. But we've not gotten any formal communication on when the speaker may trigger the processes. And it's even very much unclear whether the said letter has gotten to the office of the speaker and to the attention of the speaker. But we wait to see when those processes will be triggered in order to get him removed and his seat declared. But the final point, Mamavi, one thing is clear, that even if the seat is declared vacant, he will be entitled to his ex gratia to the tune of the duration that he served as Member of Parliament. You know that it's usually calculated based on the number of months you've served in Parliament, and a percentage of the salary over the duration is added on, which then constitutes your ex gratia. For the period that he served, even if the seat is declared vacant from now, for the 3 years, 10 months or so, he's going to earn that bit of it and take home. But once it's declared vacant, then all other privileges he owes as MP will be revoked.
And I've just been looking at how active he's been in Parliament. Apparently, he is the vice chairperson of the Privileges Committee and also on the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament. He's a legal practitioner as well, having served also as a surveyor, because he studied surveying practice with the Institute of Surveyors with some other educational background from the KNUST. So a bit about the man that we've just been talking about. Joseph OPOKU GAKPO, I guess we'll have to leave it here and wait to see. So a few things that we're following up in Parliament, just real quick before we wrap up today.
So the House has been dealing with what they call the Complementary Agency Bill, the Complementary Education Agency Bill, which is to set up an agency to oversee non-formal education and all. That has been engaging the attention of the MPs a lot, waiting to see how much progress they will make on that. They're also trying to get out what is described as the Real Estate Agency Bill, which has been on the other paper for a while now. It's come to the House, they've done the first reading, some amendments are to be done to it. Now, that bill will seek to regulate the activities of those who serve as real estate agents, and will require that they have some form of training and qualification before they can get into this. A body will be established to oversee the activity so they are more professional and all. And those are the two priority things that the House is looking at even over the next few days.
All right. Joseph OPOKU GAKPO, really appreciate you breaking down the issues for us this morning here on the show. Let's go to From the Stands with Manuel Kranting. He's on standby somewhere in the capital. Over to you, Manuel.
Great. So welcome to From the Stands. I'm here at the Accra New Town trying to pick some thoughts of the regular people on the running news stories and the things that they exactly think about the stories that are on the newspaper headlines. So I mean, you have the Daily Searchlight, which is leading with NDC's cheating, creating false alarms, and that's according to Mustafa Hamid. More stories: government action swallowing our money. And the one that has got a lot of them talking is the MPs to get police guards, according to the Interior Minister on the Ghanaian Publisher. Mr. Tete is right here, and he's been, talking about it. Good morning. Thanks for agreeing to talk to us.
Good morning.
Great. So, I mean, you've seen the headlines, and you've been talking about it. Tell me what exactly you think about, the headlines that you've read.
That is fine that they can take the police and guide them.
Well, you think that it's okay for the police to be assigned to members of parliament to protect them so that they don't fall victim to what happened to the Infantiman MP?
Oh yes, it's good. It's a good idea that they do.
But people ask a question about, what about you? What about you the regular citizen? I mean, do you have the police, guarding you and so on? Do you have enough policemen on standby, protecting you and so on? What do you think about when you put your own security, in place of the MPs?
Oh, well, it's good. It's good that we too should have a police to guide us.
Okay, let me talk to this gentleman also here. Great. What do you also think about the conversation?
First of all, good morning. I'm Wisdom from Accra Town. Personally, I'm very interested in the daily graphics today. From what's going on, and the MPs to get at least 3 policemen, and I think it's not in the right decision from the government to take that decision, because first of all, the MPs will come and they will be telling us they will construct, they will doing this and doing that. And end of the day, they will come out and they will tell us that they are now going to lobby for what they want. So I think, and personally, the police to citizen ratio is not being up to. So why then do we give the MPs 3 policemen? So what about we the citizens? Is it because the MP just died and we are now taking the decision of giving them 3 MPs, 3 policemen, or is it the decision that now, so if they are giving the MPs, what of the DCs, what of the assemblymen, what of the MDs, what of the CEOs and other stuff? So let's look at the citizens and let's look at the issues on the ground. It's not the issue about we giving each police, each MP 3 MPs, but rather we enforcing the security system.
We're going to do that, and I mean, we've gotten assurances from the security apparatus. In fact, the Interior Ministry has mentioned that they are stepping up security after that unfortunate incident involving the Fantiman MP. But again, you make the point that, I mean, what about the DC? What about, and quite lately we had a law professor in Legon also, being murdered. So are we going to give, every person who is murdered, his particular constituent, we're going to give them security? Interesting point that you're making. But again, you would understand that the MPs...
Gentlemen, please. Let's tell the black man the hard truth.
Okay.
We all deserve security.
Right.
And the issue about insecurity coming here and there, we are not got to the issue of insecurity. Okay. We are having our freedom of movement. There is freedom of speech. There is good... people are going and coming. And so I think our politicians to come down with the issue about insecurity. Everybody talking about insecurity. We have not gotten there. So let's not even move to the issue of insecurity. But to your question, you see, we all deserve security. And it's not about the Legon lecturer being killed. It's about, first of all, who is leading the security in this country? We have a Minister of State in charge of security. We have the Ministry of Interior. We have about, when you count about the people in charge of security in this country, they are getting to almost 12 from their deputies. They are getting to, so we don't even know who is leading the security system in Ghana. Is it the system, the security in charge of the Minister of State in charge of security, the Minister of Interior, the Ministry of Defense? We don't even know who is leading the security.
You think that there's conflicting, chain of command?
Yeah, we know we Ghanaians don't understand who is leading the security system as at now.
Okay.
We know they are doing their works, but who is leading the head of security as it stands now? We don't even know who is leading the head of security. So it's very.
So what if I ask you a direct question, that as a Ghanaian citizen, given the recent incidents that we've seen, do you feel safe? What's going to be your answer?
First of all, I think we are safe, because going up, coming out, doing your own things, I think we are safe. But the main issue for us to discuss is, our leaders being safe? Let's look at how they talk on radio. Let's look at how they go on social media, accusing each another and raising tensions. I think all the issues are coming from our leaders. It's about what they say on the media houses. We say now there is COVID, so everybody is making this campaign on COVID. But when they go on air, they should know how to talk to we the ordinary.
You think that the leaders are inciting the public to engage in violence?
Yeah. Almost all of them. None of them is talking about peace. Everybody is talking about raising tensions, we winning election, no matter what.
But is that a fair comment to make? And I like how interesting the conversation is getting. But I mean, is that a fair comment to make? Because we've seen some of them. In fact, the main leaders of the 2 major parties have committed to peaceful elections. President Akufo-Addo has said same. Former President John Mahama has also said same. Or if you say that they are inciting the public, I mean, is that really fair?
It's good to talk on public to declare peace, but what do you do underground? Okay, our leaders can be preaching peace, but what do they tell their members what to do? So they can promise peace. President Nanado and the former president, they can promise peace to us. But what are the grassroots people doing? Okay, the grass people are what are doing it. They are inciting the violence. So if they are preaching peace, let's also know that the grassroots and the MPs also tell them, no, they should also tell the grassroots that they should also promote peace.
Okay, so you think we need more from the leaders in encouraging, peace?
Yeah, we need more. We need more encouraging from our leaders, and also we should beef up our security system, and they should start talking about insecurity. I think we've not gotten there yet.
We've not gotten to a state of insecurity yet.
No, we've not gotten to the state of insecurity. No, I don't think so. I think the ordinary Ghanaian is free to go to the market to go and buy his food. The ordinary Ghanaian can talk on radio. The journalists are doing your work. Everybody is free to do his own activity. So I think everybody talking about insecurity. No, the MP have died. Let's find solution. Let's beef up security. Let's know who is leading.
Abana ekotunde ekufa de bezida yi no. Yetimi nyi no because mahama betwa mo no ba ye hu ni mpoye. Wonya ska na oto confirm o munyina sori adwane no aba san so beto kurokura man da bi yentimi enkwala no ne nko school de akufu ado ye ne yepe eti ehwe so obetena so yetimi tro obetena so 30 years kura yepe yepese beto akufu ado mesoma asem no
last 4 years ya wo ha eno munanti ha ne nado mama etwem ha no mu huro nu sisi 4 years na ye wo sisi ano ye hu se mama is far better than akufu ado. And 2.5 months for Nana, no more for more. Sanko for Yenti, Mama is far better than a good father. And the good father, the Batuano. Only man one year home. Go behind the good father. Only man 1 year. Mama said, I'm Mama, yeah, Mama, because also about to me.
Four years for Nana. No, 4 years. So many years. Obuakura, Oba Mapa, Nakuado, Yanko Slow, baby, I will be slow. What can you? I saw what you be. I saw watching Nana. Combia super 4 years. Oba no tis Kakoto, you learn Chris Amamo. Yeah, and Tolan Chris, why? I'm calling you go there. Baume, I don't know about me. I don't know about me. That's a Yaya Baume. Comedy, I'm comedy. I'm from Canopra. Baume, I never go about me, but when it's guy, I jump. I want to tell my little my head. I want little my head. Mama, you have a pen over your memoir. I am trying to Mama, you have a pen over your memoir. Mother, she got a comedy. Yeah, black.
Yeah, because so and confirm and this go for and confirm away. And confirm the woman in ultimate to Kodia. You brand this BP and confirm and confirm. But the ambassador is too much. Me 70 years as I'm to about. Me 70 years I'm to about. I'm by another yes. Okay, Mama Kasa. Okay.
Me pam so obianya di no meeting. Munim bibi. Sama hu mapampam. Me nyoma we. Me de hwe SS. Me kwampa na kamefa so me de be hwe SS no. Me pa cho se me amigire we me be pani kwa SS. Free. Me second one our JSS. Free. Na ka me yada me ko tua admission fee. Me ko to prospectus. Na me de ma me be ko school. Madam follow. Nana for Nana. Madam, Saúl, I don't move your back. Saúl, far more for Nana. That is
4 months for Nana. The best make sense say, we are seeing baby, I would do no yan saho. Ya duma kakra ye wa ha sei, aban peso guno. Kwan be so no pese ye fa so ne ye di ne hwe ne ma. Free education entimi mfa ni pan ko ba bia. So wutimi ye waduma na wunya sika wo betimi atu aba school fees. Enti sa ogu ye duma dia ene edi fo bia de ma no. Ye be sisem ama ye ho atoye. E da se sika wo botoma wutimi ya da ehwe oma ene wo yire. Enti the better me say say. The better me say free education. Anya hwe. As I said, we have free education any panonia Jumaya, Bogos. This year, about what we know, this is in Kake. I have 4 more for Nana, 4 more to do more. Thank you very much. Say ya baba guno ye be semu kana me ba fa visensia e ti ne sia de private school ne ayi fo ina e semu e tu ti be kan chame say free education ene ne be dia na e so me bra ne kasa na me kasa sabe na adwen ofom kakra adin ti na me kasa sa o ma bia ho masunya ejina dia ni kan kwa jina dia so free education ma ne nko so ejina ho maso free education ma no na ye nya adwuma free education ma ne nko ye nya o so wa ko fa do no o ko school o tia school fees Mama swear. I don't know. Yeah, brother. Mama swear. For free. And you free. No matter when you're mad.
Now, you share what we could do. A man who are born is here. If he says, I'm a moon, I will be. Assembly anyone. Yeah, was a sabi, you'll be better challenging. Now, Brent, you'll be a bar. Yeah, I was a friend of Mahama. Maybe the minimum. Sanze wa bedi bi pen e de nna nze bi obe bibi na ono ankasa na betena so 8 years wantimi anya hu wo aeroplane nam wiem watimi atena taban aton adi amene de krono wa bono ma wemu na Ghana fo na sebe ye nsuanyanza hu ade odi ase ye nim de ye hwe na wo abrantie we be gina abrantie we timi be gina wo sa ka che se to abama no no de sebe yo se nyansa bi wo tim na dri kwachi a edi pase kese go so oba kra wo pamo no na saba pano wo de wo so ye bema wo do za betwem kokompa mi se ma ama so ye bema biemu a wo za me fa biemu na yo hwade wo de ase na aba no pa ye sia no wo to resignation letter enforcement is for the won timi nko biemu na fe ye hu se ma wo ma biemu kra ye kra ye mpede ni kra so ye dey ahwe enti na kokompa fo ye huru no ko ye ni de wo ye wo biewa no a asem bia na ye dem de mine ye yen ne nye no china wo de ase se mahama wunne ni esie no a se na me sa kobo na mna foforo se esie ni bia bo me pere ni bro eti woni mu se na esie ye wo esie ano wo pa on kasa ba no onko biem na on tena fie nwene ho adu free pe na ye no ye se ye 4 more for na asema ye se ye hia no se ma ha no ho na yire ni ma obia na fomo je nya dia e betiase ama mahama babie o de ase na wo die fomo for nana and this for mani awu.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching the AM show. Of course, this is your election headquarters. Let's talk about a matter that has still not been resolved. In fact, we actually don't even know how this is going to go. And I'm referring to the disruptions in flight operations because of essential services being withdrawn by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. This matter came up strongly yesterday because some flights were disrupted, and I'm talking about domestic flights. Maxwell Agbaba is my colleague. He followed this story in detail yesterday. He's got some fresh update also for us. Maxwell, let's go back to the beginning because you chanced on a letter that the GCAA, that's the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, sent to domestic flight operators. Telling them exactly what?
Well, informing them of the strike that would take place on the 12th October. That was Wednesday, yesterday. And as part of the reasons why they said they were going to embark on the strike, one was because they said the activities of encroachers are disrupting, communications with the airline companies. And we understand that already some of the airline companies have complained about how difficult it is to get in touch with air control, services. With the GCAA, they have workers manning that. They say sometimes it's really difficult, and sometimes also there are interruptions in the communications. And the GCAA workers say that they believe that it is as a result of the, activities of encroachers, very close to their navigational aids and some of their surveillance systems. They think that that is the reason why the airlines, are complaining, and they feel and fear that if action is not taken now, it could, it could end up in some kind of accident, and and they really want to avert that. In fact, in that statement, they listed some top, personalities or politicians who they think are also, behind it. In fact, when I had interactions with the local union chairman of the GCA workers, he told me categorically that he thinks that the Lands Commission and the Ministry of Lands, they are complicit, in the sale of the, they are complicit in the illegal sale of the aviation lands. So as part of pressing home, their demands, three things they are asking for. They say that government should move in and stop the sale of the aviation lands.
Okay.
Secondly, also they want an executive instrument issued by government. That the lands and the leases and all of those things should be issued in the name of the GCAA, and then a couple of other demands also. But we understand that yesterday they were trying to resolve the matter, but they couldn't resolve it properly.
Okay, so let's just go back a little bit. This action in terms of the withdrawal of these essential services, because without what they provide, the airlines can't work.
Exactly.
What time did this start?
Okay, so it was supposed to start in the morning, but they gave the authorities and other stakeholders an ultimatum to make sure that they get a concrete, solution to the matter by 12. So as at 12 p.m., we understand that the meeting had not concluded, properly. So they were still considering. 2 p.m., they were still considering. And then 4 p.m., 5 p.m., then we started getting information from domestic passengers that they are stranded on the tarmac. They've been in the aircraft for a very long time, and that is because the GCAA workers, are on strike. This, we understand, only affected domestic flights, but as part of their plans, they're actually thinking of escalating it, to affect international, flights as well. So for now, it was just domestic,
okay,
flights.
Right. So you had interactions, but you also went around.
Yeah.
Explain what you saw in terms of why they think that the lands are being encroached upon.
Well, if you go to a place like Lankwanta 9 in an area very close to Ashalibuche, you could clearly see that private developers, are gradually, taking over the lands. Some of them putting structures very close to the GCAA installations. And we are told that if that happens, what it means is that sometimes, the signals can be blocked. Signals, crucial signals that have to be sent to, pilot and all those things could be blocked by some of these high-rise, buildings. In fact, at Ashalibuche, we saw some people on site busily working, and I'm told that all attempts
working,
to get them,
what kind of work?
They were putting up structures.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm told that all attempts to get them, to stop, have actually proven.
Who attempts stopping them?
Well,
because these are workers, right?
Exactly.
What category of workers went on this action yesterday?
So it's a coalition of GCA workers. So you have professionals from different fields all coming together to form that coalition of GCAA workers. So all of them, I mean, some of them actually were the ones not providing the essentials. So for instance, those in charge of air traffic control, for instance, they withdrew their services yesterday. So that's why it was difficult for any domestic aircraft, to leave, the tarmac yesterday. It was difficult.
It's a curious question because they're higher authority.
Exactly.
And I'm wondering, because if anybody has to take some action, it would come from them. Did they explain if their bosses were reluctant in enforcing or taking action?
Well, from our interactions with the workers, they seem to come to an end sort of for them. They feel that nobody is really listening to them because they say that they've exhausted all means to get this issue resolved, to the extent of petitioning the chief of staff on many occasions. They said they've been to the lands ministry, they've petitioned the lands minister, the aviation minister. They've talked about this over and over again, but it looks like no help is coming from anywhere, and that's why they had to resort to this strike to forcefully drum home the points that they are making. And in fact, yesterday we understand that the aviation minister was at the airport. We understand the labor minister was also at the airport. The national security minister was also at the airport, we're told. The deputy interior minister was also at the airport, but other, top people there purposely to, to resolve the matter because passengers were stranded. I mean, on the time.
What are your sources telling you? Were they able to resolve it?
Well, we understand the meeting went deep into the night, and one of the people I spoke to told me that he got home around 12 a.m. So that was the only time that they decided that, okay, let's go back to work. We're going back to work, but at 10 a.m. They have a meeting with the chief of staff. And they are saying that they are hoping that the meeting with the chief of staff will resolve all the issues and then bring some kind of finality to the matter. They say that if their demands are not met, what is going to happen is that they're going to go back. Going back means that they're going to withdraw the essential services like we saw yesterday. And what it means is that for domestic flight passengers, they're going to be stranded. So we're just monitoring that meeting closely to see what the outcome, of that meeting will be. We pray that it goes well. If it doesn't go well, we'll have to endure the inconvenience that it will pose to us.
Just before you leave, though, there are some persons that you did mention that the workers weren't held accountable. And they mentioned, for instance, the former aviation minister, Cecilia Dapal, the current aviation minister. They also put his name as part of the, and then they also mentioned even directors. So what have they done exactly? Did they explain?
Well, they think that they are in a position to halt all that is happening on the lands, but they feel that they've really not done enough to to end the encroachments on their lands. So they're saying that if anything happens, they should be held responsible. And then yesterday, for instance, we were at East Legon, just going around monitoring, and it's shocking how people have even constructed like high-rise buildings coming up in a flight path at East Legon, very close to the tunnel. And when a flight is coming down, yesterday I saw Ethiopian Airlines just coming down, and you could see that you don't have to be an aviation safety expert to be able to tell that this is dangerous, but that is happening in a place like East Legon, and we are monitoring that closely, and we're putting together something comprehensive. We'll bring it out.
Interesting. They mentioned the immediate past Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, as well as the board chairman of the Ghana Civil Aviation. So one can understand why they are now taking this independent action away from the people that they at least see should be protecting the interests of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. We wait to see how this goes in terms of the meeting this morning and whether or not there will be another action. You can see in your shots there, these are all parts of the lands they claim belong to the Civil Aviation Authority, or at least the government of Ghana, and to be used for the purposes
of aviation,
services.
Exactly.
But there's also the angle of the owners of the land, the original owners of the land, which is also brewing.
Yes. So yesterday, when this information went out, we got calls from the last two, the original owners of the land, and they also have a point to make. It was a long conversation and a long talk about how they gave them the land for the purposes of aviation, but they feel that they are drifting from that and they're using it for private development and not aviation purposes.
I guess
so that's why they want to take over the land.
We give you the lands for a certain purpose, and if you're not using it for it, you have to revert it to us, and you can't give it to private people. Well, very interesting how this is playing out. But it's also a very crucial time. This is a period that issues must be resolved. You know, it's like a must be resolved. So if the parties will hold on to their positions and ensure that this will be resolved, then I guess we would come to a quicker conclusion. But Maxwell Agbagba, thank you very much. We'll leave you to keep following this matter, and Maxwell will be bringing us updates as and when we have new development on this. When we come back, we're talking about the Joy News Habitat Fair, which we're doing it in partnership with EcoBank, the 2020 edition. We've got the first clinic coming up at the West Hills Mall just this weekend. We've been having exciting conversations, giving you reasons to be there at the Habitat Fair. It's just the one place where there's no pressure. You just relax, go around and look at what our exhibitors are offering, and it ranges from if you don't have a land at all, there's an opportunity to own a land. There's also an opportunity if you want a completed building for you to negotiate and get good deals. And if you're building yourself, then we've got products from our exhibitors that will help you finish that building. So it's pretty simple. And the reason we choose the West Hills Mall, so you can come with the entire family and have a family time whilst you also look around and get good deals to finish that house that you perhaps started, or own a house, or get a new investment. So when we come back, we've got two of our sponsors who are also exhibiting, joining us for a conversation. Stay with us. All right, time for us to talk about the Joy News Habitat Fair, the 2020 edition. We've got the first mini clinic coming up just this weekend, 17th and 18th at the West Hills Mall. Joining me for a conversation is Dorothy Ejay Darko, Business Development Manager with Ganaba Properties. They are one of our sponsors and exhibitors this year. Good morning to you, Dorothy, if you can hear me.
Good morning, Mama V.
Great to have you, and thank you for joining us on the Habitat Fair this year. Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
All right, let me also quickly say good morning to Jackson Oseajimang, who's a civil engineer with DBS Roofing, also one of our sponsors and exhibitors at the 2020 edition of the Habitat Fair. Good morning, Jackson.
Good morning. Good morning, Mama V.
Okay, great. DBS, you've been with us for a while now. Dorothy, this is your first time. So maybe I should start with you. Kindly introduce your company to us. What do you do? Hello, Dorothy.
Hello, Mama V.
Yes, Dorothy. Can you tell us about Ganaba Properties?
Okay. Ganaba Properties is a premier private real estate, and it's a subsidiary of Ganaba Investment Limited. It has 8 subsidiaries, investing in 3 major areas: oil and gas, transport, logistics, construction, and engineering. And this year to showcase is GHB Properties. That's our real estate company.
Okay. So what kind of house types do you have, and where are they located?
Okay, so we have the executive 3-story, we have executive 2-story and suite, we have middle 2-story, we have budget single-story, and then we have locations such as airport, which is the Jubilee Chauffeur, we have East Legon Hills, Adiship Valley, and then Pram, Grace Court.
Okay. All right, Dorothy, we have some of your buildings, so we'll be showing them in a bit. But let me talk to Jackson about DBS roofing. Jackson, we'll talk about the galvanized steel that you so much want to tell us about. But give us, help us appreciate generally what DBS does.
Okay, DBS is a company that is into manufacturing and production of steel products, roofing sheets, and other construction materials. Hello?
Yes, Jackson.
Yes. So that is a bit about DBS.
Okay, great. Let's hear you talk about the galvanized steel.
Well, okay. And so DBS, we provide steel solutions in two forms. We have the cold framing form and the hot framing form. Well, the cold framing form, as the name goes, involves doesn't involve heat in framing the members, but the hot framing involves heat. So I'd like to talk more about the cold framing because that's what we are promoting now. So with the cold framing, the material that is used is the light gauge steel, light gauge galvanized steel. And the light gauge galvanized steel is actually a galvanized steel that is galvanized to a weight of 275 grams per meter square with a yield strength of 550 MPa. Okay, and so it is used actually for structural purposes. So there are certain grades or thicknesses that we have for structural framing. We have the 0.95 thickness, we have the 0.75 thickness. And so in application, there are certain profiles that we use. We have the steel channel, we have the hard sheet or the fairing channel that we use in the structural framing. So that is about the light gauge steel. It's a galvanized light gauge steel.
Okay. And what are the benefits? Why should I choose this galvanized steel?
Okay, so you should choose galvanized steel as opposed to this traditional wood framing methods because one, the steel affords one is durable.
Mm-hmm.
It affords a long-term and consistent performance. And so as opposed to the wooden frames, when you put on the steel structure, it can take you a whole lot. You know, every structure has a lifespan. And with steel, that lifespan is much, much longer than the wood framing methods. And then number two is that with the steel is actually a non-combustible material. What I mean by that is that it's not able to spread fire because it's not able to act as a fuel. And so if you choose steel structure, you don't have to worry about your building being getting totally destroyed in case of fires.
Okay.
You have the fire resistance when you choose the steel. And then with the steel framing method, you also have design efficiency. It also saves time and reduces cost. So with the design efficiency, as you can see right there on the screen, you can see a perfectly put up roof truss with the steel members. And as you can see, the angles are there. It looks correct. It's beautiful. The shape is there. So as opposed to the wooden frame, the carpenter might put up something that you won't see the angles well, the shape will not come out well. And so with the steel, you have the aesthetic value is there. It looks beautiful, it looks nice, it looks appealing. And it's also affordable as well.
Okay, great. Jackson.
Also, it is environmentally friendly. Okay, with the wood, you know, we have to go to the bush, cut down trees, and be degrading the forest and all that. But with this system, there's little or no pollution to the environment. And so we advise that you pick the steel as an option.
Great. Let's talk to Dorothy a bit. I'll come back to you, Jackson, on exactly what you'll be showcasing at the clinic at West Hills Mall this weekend. But Dorothy, we've got some of your buildings that we will also be showing to our viewers. I need you to talk us through typically how your building is like? If I entered a Ganaba house, what would I see?
Okay, thank you, Mama V. So we have 120 affordable housing units at Pram, 200 affordable housing units at Hebron, that's Amasaman, then 13-story apartments at Airport Residential Area, then 10 housing units at East Legon Hills. So when you enter a GHB property house, we have residential facilities with social amenities such as cinema, pharmacy, sports facilities to host your social programs like wedding, funerals. We have water storage tanks. We have furnished living rooms, dining. We have 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, expandable to 2 bedrooms.
Okay. So these houses you talk about, because you mentioned Hebron, are these...
Yes, that's the Amasaman.
Amasaman area. Are these houses that are already built?
No,
are these houses already built, or this is... Hello, Dorothy?
No, please, they are not already built.
Okay. So in what form, what states? Whilst you're addressing that, talk to us also about the airport properties and the ones you have in other places. What level are we in terms of the building?
Okay, so most of the properties are now at foundation level.
Okay. So, yes. So what are some of the terms? Just not to go into detail, because I need people to come to the West Hills Mall so they can spend a lot more time with you and ask all the questions. But what are the basic things that we should know? If I want to own your property, for instance, what are some of the deals available?
Okay, so with the Jubilee Chauffeur, that is the one at airport. It's a masterpiece building combining 3 buildings in one. We have a hotel block, an apartment block, and then an office block.
Okay. All right. Okay, Dorothy. Well, thanks a lot. DBS, just the final one. Why should people come to the West Hills Mall? Why should they visit your stand this weekend to learn about DBS roofing? What would you be offering? Jackson, apologies there. You have to unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
So at the After Fair, we have our products that we like to showcase to the public, and we have several promotions running. Yes, that would like to let our customers know about.
Okay. And you have you have a roof that you'll be putting up there, right? Because that's traditionally what you do.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So we have our product. That's the steel structures, the roofing sheets, and all other product that we have. So we advise that you come and see for yourself what we have for you.
Okay, great. All right, Jackson, all right. I'll see you this weekend at the West Hills Mall. Dorothy, just the final words. Why should people come to the West Hills Mall and visit Ganaba Properties?
Okay, so GHB Properties is offering early bird discounts for all who visit our stand this weekend at the West Hills Mall. We have flexible payment system. We have 1-year payment system. We have 5-year payment system. And then we have trade-off systems too. We are offering a lifetime complimentary laundry for our partners. We have guaranteed rental value for people who will buy the houses and would like to rent it out. We have shuttle system for all our affordable housing. That's the Grace Court at Pram and then Amasaman.
Okay. All right, Dorothy.
So we expect everyone to visit our stand this weekend.
Okay, great. We will be there. So I would see you both at the West Hills Mall Saturday, Sunday. Thank you very much for joining us and telling us about Ganaba Properties and DBS Roofing. Yes, roofing Papa Fie. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Dorothy. See you soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that's our conversation on the Habitat Fair with two of our sponsors, DBS Roofing and Ganaba Properties. They will be at the West Hills Mall. The clinic opens 8 a.m., ends 8 p.m. It's a whole day and it's 2 days. So you can come and have interactions with our exhibitors and get great deals. And the clinics come with that. The bigger fair will come with that as well. So please do make time and join us at the Habitat Fair Clinic. All right, we've got show business coming your way a bit later on here on the AM show. Please do stay.